to talk about upgrades. Whoop, whoop. We are having a double upgrade that's happening this fall. So we're getting really excited. So that means that we have features and enhancements from both 2311 and 2405 to show you today. I'm going to pop the agenda into the chat so everyone can follow along with what we are talking about. We've broken it out into sections and we'll go through those. But I have a few housekeeping things that I want to talk about before we get started, and then we'll do a round of introductions, and then we'll jump right into some Koha stuff. For all those that this is your first webinar, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so excited to be here today to share with you the features and enhancements coming in the next release for our ByWater partners. And, you know, this is just a great opportunity for you to have a look at some of the new things that are coming. We, of course, have done documentation on our website. We've also done a plethora of Monday Minutes that we've shown off some features and enhancements. So we're not going to touch upon those since we already have some documentation. We're really going to show you some new stuff. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A option as well as the chat. Q&A is really easy for me to like transcribe later. So if you do it there, thank you so much. But I can only follow the chat during this. So if you want to show excitement or super happy, use that chat. I have Heba who's going to follow the chat and the Q&A during this. And of course, Lizette and Brian can help her because last week, fast and furious, like they were coming at us all over the place. And we love that, the questions and excitement that you guys all have. So I'm going to do just a quick introduction. My name is Kelly. If anyone hasn't seen me or met me before, I've been with ByWater for 7 years and kind of dabbled in the education, and now I'm in sales, but my passion is documentation. So here I am to show you all the things. I'm going to pass it over to Heba to start introductions, and then we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Heba. I am one of the current educators. Before that, I dabbled a little bit on data as a report writer, and I helped the education team manage their tickets. And as a great handoff, Lizette actually took up the baton from me when I moved into doing education full time.
Yeah, so I'm Lizette. I'm now working with the development team. And before that, I was helping the education team manage their tickets. And I've been with ByWater for about 18 months. And Brian.
Hi, everyone. My name's Brian. I'm the head of support here at ByWater. I've been here since January. Shouldn't I forgot my one time started February. I've been here since February. And I've known ByWater for like less than I've been in the library world for like the last 15-ish years. So yeah, thanks. Back to you, Kelly.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that's everybody. We're just here to kind of support this whole process. Any questions? We have folks here, as well as we always have our Slack that we can ask anybody, so please feel free. A couple of things that I want to say is you will be upgraded this fall. Out of an abundance of caution, we are pushing back our upgrades about a month. So we originally had planned on upgrading partners in August. Due to our fantastic, amazing early adopters that have been on the newest release, we have found, or they have found, a good number of bugs that we would like to resolve and get patched into the release that we send out to our partners. So we're going to hold off for a week. So let me just pause and give a nice round of applause to our early adopters that have put this into their systems and done all the hard things and told us what we should look at and fix. So again, this is super exciting. We have about, I think 15 early adopters that have done this on their live site, and they've really kind of helped us identify some things that we need to have fixed. So that's really great. So as of this moment, we're just pushing it out until September. More information to come when we know more. So we'll keep you posted on that. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to start sharing because we've got a lot to cover, unless there's any questions. If not, okay. Okay, here we go. Everyone can see my screen? We're good, good, good. Okay. So I try to do really good. This bug is 27753, automate the resolution of return claim when checking in an item. This is sponsored by Altadena Library District, which I saw they were in the room. So thank you, Altadena Library District, for making this happen. So for libraries using the claims return process, we can now automate that. So before, when you checked it in, it told you it was a claimed return item, but then you had to do some more clicks and resolve that claim. So now libraries can choose to do that automatically. There are 2 system preferences that come with this. I'm going to type in auto claim return because they both have those 3 first words: auto claim return status on check-in and auto claim return status on checkout. So if something gets returned or you check that in, you can tell Koha how to resolve that if it was claimed. Now, really handy dandy, I'm going to move my little screen over there. Handy dandy, it's actually linking to the authorized value in Koha that is driving what's populated in this menu. So this is the authorized value. You can, of course, add your own to this. So you can say, hey, if something gets checked in and it was claimed, make that resolution found in the library. If it was found by a patron and then checked out to another patron, how would you like that to be handled? How would you like that to be resolved? Do you want to say it's found in the library, returned or by patron, or whatever you choose? So remember, authorized values, and I think this is one set of words that I say repeatedly throughout this entire webinar, as well as system preference. So buzzwords, maybe later we could do a little game, but probably not, it's not appropriate in this case. If I say those words, maybe just Google. Again, you do not have to do this. It will be turned off automatically when you get upgraded. You would need to come into these system preferences and activate those. And by activating, I'm saying choose one of these statuses or create your own. So once you do that, if we go ahead and check in an item through the system, yeah. I just played around with this so much. I'm like, did I change anything? It's going to say, hey, the previously claimed returned item has been found, and automatically resolving the associated claim. So if we come into Anne Shirley's account who had a claimed item, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'm going to go to Anne's claims. She has no active claims. So it says, hey, this was resolved, was today the 24th, with that resolution of found in the library. So it was just checked in, and it's the Koha saying, hey, we're going to remove that. We're going to make it a resolved claim, and we're going to clear that status from that item. So again, the same thing. If you checked it in, or then if you checked out an item to a patron, you're going to get the same alert. While we're here, though, I do want to just check another one in, because there are so many things. There are so many things that I want to show. This is something that's on hold. Another thing is, oh, I thought I could transfer it. Let me try again. 223584113. Oh, it's not transferring. Well, you have 2 new columns here, transfer to and transfer reason. It's going to give you that information, which it never did before, telling you after you've cleared that box, hey, it's transferring to this area, and the reason of the transfer is it's on hold, or various other reasons that you get the transfer. Just another way of getting that information to your staff members as you find is important. These are course columns that you can configure. So wherever you see on these tables within Koha and you see columns and configuration, you are able to identify what columns are seen here on this screen. For admin, hitting that configure would allow you to be able to hard code or say, this is for real, what I want to always see. But of course, staff members can always change the columns for that moment in time. So you definitely have that choice. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, Was anybody in the Koha gifted webinar today? So exciting. There was new things coming to item search, but so let's stay with what's coming now in item search. But item search has a new look. Oh, this is fantastic. I'm part of the item search fan club. So this is amazing to see this kind of like get better and better and better. But you can see a different kind of process and how we add things. We, of course, still have the same values here, but it's just another way of picking and choosing, removing. So it's super nice. Just a new look. The other thing that we've added is the option of damaged. So before the item search didn't have your damage value, it now does. So you can pick when you run this report to look for damaged items. I think the last release we brought in withdrawn. Now we're bringing in damage. So we get to slowly bring that in. If I make that search within the item search and I scroll way over to the right, I'm also going to see the last checkout date added to the item search. So yet another column to add to this, but that's really fantastic to have all this information at our fingertips in this process. And of course, it's really doing an SQL in the background and giving us this data without us having to write a report. Somebody did file a bug that I mentioned in the last webinar that would allow for column configuration to occur on the item search form. As you can see, when I mentioned, when you see a table and you see a little spoke and little wrench, that means you can configure that. At this time, the item search is not configurable, but that is coming because somebody has asked for that, and that's how amazing it is. Okay, another super exciting new look for Koha is in holds. And this is a feature that is called bug 15565, place multiple item level holds at once on the same record. Oh, this is so exciting. So for libraries that have multiple items on a record, maybe volumes or DVDs or issues, that you want patrons to be able to individually pick which item they want on the record. That is driven in your CERC rules, allowing patrons to and staff pick items specifically. But this feature is building on that and allowing us to pick multiple items on that same record. So this feature is has a system preference. So we would need to turn this on. And most of the things that I show you today, actually, anything with a system preference that's new, you do need to turn it on. So you do need to go into your system preferences and make these changes for you. In the release notes that we publish, we always add all the system preferences there. So you can kind of go through when there's new system preferences. That's a great way to start to know what we can turn on or keep off. But this one is called display multi-item holds. So you would go in here if you wanted to allow patrons or staff to place holds on different items on the same record. You can hit this enable. And then when a staff member comes in and searches in the catalog, okay, I'm going to pull up my Yellowstone season 3, and I'm going to hit that place hold, and I'm going to start typing in my favorite patron. And now, okay, drum roll, a little bit new look. We still have the same sort of sections, hold details, hold next available is clearly marked, yes, green check mark, yes. And then we have a hold specific item. So if I click that, so you can see how it's a little different now, the look, super, but it's making it really more apparent what you're doing. And if I come in here and I hit say, yes, hold on a specific item, hey, I want disc 1, 2, and 3, and I can go ahead and place a hold. Oh, that's amazing. The same functionality can be done on the OPAC for your patrons. So if they went into their OPAC, goodness, Kelly's got Anne's got a lot of things going on. Oh, I can't go into holds. The last one I sillily paid fines in one of them, and then I was like, oh, where are the fines for the thing I wanted to show you? So sort of same thing. Okay. Logged in. I've saved $1,000 by using my library. I mean, how amazing is that? Okay. We're going to go to season 3. All of my Yellowstones have it. I don't know why I need to go to this one. Maybe it's the picture of Kevin Costner on the front. I'm going to hit that placehold. This is not much different to look at. On a specific item, I can come here and place multiple and hit that placehold. Of course, this is going with your circles, so you have to allow for item-specific holds as well as number of holds per record. But again, if you do want this functionality, please know that it now exists within the staff and the OPAC. Currently not a functionality in Aspen libraries. So I talk about the OPAC. It will be for Koha OPAC, but not something that's in the Aspen Discovery at the moment. Okay, bug 22740, automatically change loss status when item is paid for. Sponsored by Cuyahoga County Public Library. This is going to do amazing things to your workflow. So before this, if you had something that was lost and somebody paid for it, it is going to change that status to not be, I think it stays, anyways, it would not change the status to lost and paid for, which is what a lot of libraries anticipated would happen because guess what? It was lost and then it was paid for. So now it's lost and paid for, but it never did that until now. So again, new system preferences that come with this one. This one is called update item loss status when paid and when written off. These are again driving from your authorized values in loss. So these are your lost authorized values. You can absolutely add additional ones. Lost and paid for is built into Koha for most systems unless you've gotten rid of it in the past. I added lost and written off because it made sense if I did mark something, I did write something off and it was still lost. I wanted to keep that, but then lost and paid for. So when something is paid, it's marked lost and paid for. And when it's written off, it changes over to lost and written off. And this is really any of those, lost statuses going from one to the next is just updating that. So when we come into pull into somebody's account and go to pay for something, here's my Andrew Jackson. Look at that regalness. Yep. He does have $16.99 he owes. I'm going to go into my accounting. He does have a lost item. If I go ahead and pay for that item, I'm going to pull up his Percy Jackson book that he had checked out. Come over here. It is now lost and paid for as the lost status from the item tab. If you want to look at it from the normal tab to see that bib record and the information, it is moved to lost and paid for. So really clear to staff, especially when writing reports. Hey, what have we gotten money for and what should we replace? Definitely an easier way to get that information and saves a ton of clicks. And so the same thing would go for writing that off. It would do the same process. Okay. Next one is 32610, adding the ability to specify a patron attribute as a date. So for libraries using patron attributes, there was always the ability to link authorized values or have a free text, but now we have the ability to associate a patron attribute with a date. So I'm going to pop into a patron attribute types. I'm going to pull up the one I created called date in my code. And this is a new choice that you have when creating or modifying your patron attributes, is that you can mark if it is a date. So note that you cannot, they cannot be repeatable or linked to an authorized value category. So you can't do multiple things. It can just be a date specifically. If I pull up my, my patron, let's go to Elizabeth. Maybe we'll not check for the catalog. Elizabeth Bennett, there you are. hanging out in Florida. I'm going to hit that edit to go to her account. I'm going to scroll down to patron attributes. And now here I have the, oh, I don't have it. I must have it specific to a patron category. Y'all, where is it? Bear with me. Date. East Branch. Let's do all libraries. Well, I definitely know it's in mine. Here we go. So as I said, the additional patron attributes can be a drop-down. So authorized value can be another different kind of drop-down, as well as now, if you do have something associated with a date, you can come in here and add that date in for that patron attribute and save. So then that date is automatically linked to that patron attribute. Something super small, took me way longer than it should have, but it's good to know that that does exist, that you can associate some piece of data with a specific date in mind. Okay. Bug 29145, allow patrons to have overdue items that would not result in debarment when removing overdue debarments. Well, that's just fun to say, isn't it? This is just a change to a current system preference. So the system preference, let's pop in there and then I'll explain. There's not like a lot to see, so you can hear me talk about it. We've always had this system preference, auto remove overdues restriction. And the choices before this was yes, remove the overdue restriction, or no, don't remove the overdue restriction when the patron has returned items. This overdue restriction is triggered by your overdue notice status and triggers. When you say, yes, when I send my third overdue, go ahead and restrict them. We want to give them a third option. So potentially we may want to allow the restriction to be lifted when they've returned the items that cause the overdue restriction to be applied, but not necessarily if they've returned all their overdues. So that third option is going to say, hey, if the patron has no remaining items that cause for debarment, so cause to be restricted, that option is new, saying they could still have overdues, but I want the restriction to be removed if they return the items that was actually triggering the overdue restriction. Since this is a third system preference choice, your library, whatever it was, do or don't, is going to stay that value when you upgrade. If you want to choose the third option, you would come in here and add that third option. So what you've chosen in the past is going to stay. If you do want this newest option, you would come into this system preference and choose the new one if patron has no remaining items. Okay, this is a big one. Oh, I love this one. I'm going to go ahead and search the catalog. We had some questions the last webinar about local use. But if you're not familiar with local use, libraries can track, in essence, local use is what Koha calls it. So when you find books all over the library and you want to track that somebody touched those, somebody read those, somebody perused that material, and you want to track that, especially in your magazines or maybe even in your picture books that you know things aren't always circulating, but they're being used, you can track local use. Before this new feature came in Koha, when you wanted to look at your title's local use or your item's local use, you had to run a report. And let me tell you, I mean, we can all say in the room, we've all seen many reports to say, or tickets to say, can you help me find my local use? So we had many reports by like barcode or by section. Now you will be able to see the local use from the actual item holding table. So here you have a new column here. This item holding table is getting quite large or long or wide. I'm not sure how you want to label it, but you do have a new local use column. This is not going to be turned on by default. You're again going to go into your configuration table and activate that so it's visible. Another thing to note, if your library is collecting local use statistics, once you go live, please send us a ticket because this will not populate with the past data. So your local uses will all show 0. We will need to do some data and bring the data over from your statistics table into this local use area. So don't freak out when you see 0, just send us a ticket and say, hey, can you update that? And we'll do that for you. If you don't want to see that and you don't care about it, then the column will be hidden anyways. But it's good to know that it does exist if you do want to see that. Okay. The next one, 31357, separate holds history from intranet reading history, sponsored by Cuyahoga County Public Library. Way back in, I don't know, 2211 or 2305, we brought in holds history. And holds history was connected to intranet reading history. So the system preference intranet reading history, if turned on and you allowed your staff to see the past checkouts of your patrons, you also were able to see past holds. Now, of course, this always depends on privacy. If your patron is not, saving circulation history, you wouldn't be able to see it anyways. But it was kind of something that was important to some libraries to say, hey, we don't want to see all of the circulation history, but holds history is super, super helpful when a patron comes in and says, I forgot I had something on hold and you emailed me and I forgot what it was. Can I be placed on hold? And you'd be like, what did you have on hold? And they're like, I don't remember. For people that have been using Koha forever and ever, like myself, we used to have to go back into notices and see what notices they were sent if they did get hold notices to see what those holds were. So we've really evolved. But now, back to system preferences, we have a new system preference for holds specifically. So it's called intranet reading history holds, allow or don't allow. Now, if your library had intranet reading history turned to allow, so your staff could see that, when you get upgraded, this will also be set to allow. So it's going to give you both options at the same time. If this was set to don't allow when you get upgraded, then this will be set to don't allow, and you can come in and then turn that on yourself. So by default, it's going to keep that same kind of process, but you of course can change that. So know that now you can, if your staff can't see checkout history, but you would love them to see the hold history, you can now do that. And that is so, so, so exciting. So thank you to Cuyahoga County Public Library that made that happen. Okay. Bug. Oh yeah, let's cancel. Like, what was it at? It doesn't really matter. It's a test site. 32730, add patron list tab to patron details and circulation patrons. So there is now another tab within the patrons checkout area. So down here at the bottom, called patron lists. So if a patron within your database is connected to a patron list at your library, it will now show from this page. You'll be able to see the list they're connected to, be able to click it. You have some actions. So you can come in and almost do that whole patron list process, as well as add them to a list. So you have a lot of functionality. Before anyone says, holy moly, Hilly, that's a lot of options that my staff now have, it is a permission that your staff do need to have to be able to see this. They will be able to see, unless they have the permission, search, list, and view patrons. It's a new sub permission. Let me pop over there. They will only be able to see the list they're attached to. They won't be able to do anything. And I'm going to log in as somebody just so you can see that. So this is a new permission, search, list, and view patrons. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'm going to log out. There is a new little clickety click on your drop down menu. So another thing that I didn't put on the agenda, but I was going to show is you do have this little cog, and the cog is not bringing me out of this page anymore where it did before. It does let me change my library, change my desk, change my cash register without kind of going to a new screen. So just something really cute and easy, but something nice. But I'm going to log out. So this staff patron does not have that option of search, list, and view patrons. I'm going to pull up Ann Shirley so you can see what that staff member would see. They're still going to see that patron list option. They're going to see what list they're part of, but I have no options. I can't do anything other than see that they're part of a list. So that's what that permission is going to allow your staff to do. So something you would have to opt them into once you go live. Okay. Logging back in. The next one is 33271, show information about patron guarantees charges on patron detail page. If your library is charging fines and you have guarantors and guarantees, you now will be able to see the amount of money they are owed on both the detail page and the checkout page. So before it only showed on the checkout page, and that was really not as helpful as it could have been. So you can see here on the checkout page, I have patrons owe money, and then my guarantors and guarantees also owe money. If I head over to the details, I'm going to see that information as well. So just another nice look to be able to track that money paid for. And this is all nothing you need to turn on. This whole process of seeing this information is set up through the system preference. No issues, charge, guarantors with guarantees. Rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? Just rolls right off the tongue. But another thing to note that has happened in the next release is you are going to have an additional date under holds waiting at other libraries or holds waiting at the library. We always saw this little bullet point and hold placed on date. We now, with the next release, will be able to see when it's been waiting at the library since. So we'll be able to say, hey, we've had it since the 4th or whatever, but that date is now visible from the attention page. So that's really fun too. Oh, lots of excitement. Okay, next one. 34924. 34924, add ability to send final auto renewal notice. And this is sponsored by Montgomery County Library System. So if we remember back in the day, my kids always make fun of me, back in the day, when auto renewals started, there was a little bit of kind of confusion when a patron would get a notice to know when that final auto renewal was happening. So when it's really due. Libraries give many auto renewals, and it's kind of, we wanted to make it very clear in a notice, hey, this is it, like no more, you're officially due on this date. So we are now, Koha has now updated the notice within the system to allow patrons to get that notice. But something to note, I know this is so exciting, when upgrades happen and changes are made to things like notices, they're not going to happen to your notices if you're already live on Koha, because we don't want to overwrite material that's already been edited or customized by your library. So new libraries will get this auto renewal notice that has that final auto renewal information in the template toolkit. But for libraries that don't have been on Koha and have made customizations to your auto renewal notice, please send us a ticket and we can update that. We'll have somebody work with you to make that happen so that final auto renewal notice language comes across. So if you have auto renewal notices already going out and you've customized them in any way, send us a ticket and we'll work with you. If you have never touched your auto renewal notice at all, then you can happily, the default template toolkit notice that's new with this release, we have in our documentation that you can just copy and paste. But whatever you feel comfortable with, it is out there to be used. If you want help, please let us know. So it's kind of confusing, but it's going to be really helpful. And we're aware of folks that have made changes to their auto renewal notice, and we'll be happy to work with you to make that happen. So your patrons will get that. This is your last overdue notice. I mean, this is your last renewal notice. I apologize. Okay. Okay. 6796. You know it's an old bug if it's only 4 digits. 6796. Overnight checkouts taking into account opening and closing hours. Is there anybody out there that are using hourly loans? Do we have any academics in the house, or like course reserves, a couple hours here, a couple hours there? Oh, somebody raised their hand. Yay. Yo, good. More than one. Perfect. So there is now the ability to tell Koha your opening and closing hours, so then it can evaluate and follow what you want them to do with those hourly loans. So we have a 2-step process here. If we, good, everybody, yay. If we come into admin under libraries, you now have the ability to set your library hours. So you can see here my East branch, I'm open at 9, I close at 5, 12 to 7, on and on and on. I'm closed on Sunday. This is only going to apply to hourly loans. So these hours don't mean anything else to Koha other than your hourly loans. The next thing you're going to do is come into your system preferences, and let's look at consider library hours. You have a couple options. You can, so say I check something out at 6 o'clock and it's actually a 2-hour loan, but my library closes at 7 o'clock. What would you like Koha to do with that hourly loan? Would you like it to shorten the due date to say, hey, it's not, you don't get 2 hours, you only get an hour because we're closing an hour, which would shorten the loan period and set the checkout to be due at the library's close time? Do not consider library hours at all, or extend the loan period and set the checkout to be due at the library's opening time. So in my case, I checked it out at 6. I have it now until the next opening hour that I have it to be due at. A few questions that came up during our last webinar. What about libraries that had split hours? So maybe you're open 9 to 12 and then you open 3 to 6. At this time, Koha cannot understand that. It really just can't. There's no place to add double hours for the days of the week. Another question that got brought up, hey, what if we are open until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. and my hourly loans, what does it do then? Again, there's no place for me to be able to say I open at 1, say I close at 1 o'clock in the morning, because if I did that and I said here, you know, I'm open on Monday, 9 a.m. and I don't close until 1 a.m. on technically Tuesday, but then where am I going to put my hours for Tuesday when I open the next day at noon or something like that? So both scenarios, unfortunately, have not been done yet in the Koha opening and closing feature that we're introducing, but I can see it as great enhancements to this feature. So at this time, standard hours, shorten the length or extend the length. Super exciting. And this has been a plugin in Koha for many years. So this will be great for libraries that have had to use a plugin for their hourly loans. Okay. Bug 17617, add the ability of sending a confirmation email to patrons when a hold is placed. Now this sounds awesome, right? So when I place a hold, I get an email saying, hey, Kelly, you placed a hold. And like I can do a little happy dance all over. After I've placed a hold, I get an email. So if you would like to turn that on, you can do that. Caveat. This is not part of the messaging preferences. So if you do turn this on, everyone will get an email when they place a hold. So the system preferences, email patron when hold is placed, email or don't email. So it's going to be set to do not. But note that this is not something that is set in the patron messaging preferences yet. So therefore, I couldn't opt out of it as a patron. I would always get an email if this was turned on. I think in our last webinar, it was like, oh, this is for like little libraries or, you know, something that's more intimate. I'm not sure. This does create a new notice in the system, and that is called hold placed patron. So here it is, hold placed underscore patron, hold is confirmed. Hold placed is yet another one where this is an email sent to the library when a hold is placed. So hold placed is when a hold is placed and the library wants to get an email. So that's another system preference, email librarian when hold is placed. That's that notice, but this is a new notice, hold place underscore patron. Oh, patrons insert, done. Woo! Think I'm going faster this time. We doing good? Questions okay? Getting excited for administration? Everybody waking up now? Because this is super exciting. I put administration right in the center. So like if it got to the end, people might leave. But right here in the center, you got to stay because we got to get technical services and OPAC next. Okay. Does anyone have patrons in their database that aren't really patrons? Somebody said like they had a patron called Sherlock Holmes in the last webinar, or your anonymous patron, or SIP users, API users. Brendan, oh, Brendan's here. Oh, good webinar this morning. So for those, oh, Fox Mulder, I don't know that one. Oh, look at all these fun names. This is now the ability to add those special patrons as protected patrons. And that would allow for no edits to happen to them. Just another kind of level of, you know, security to your protected patrons, because let me tell you, I know I've had many tickets to say, hey, I deleted that anonymous patron on accident, or I changed it. This is now going to protect those patrons from editing, but not deleting. So I'm going to pull up a person just so we can look at them. And we're going to look at what they look like. You get a nice little shield. So there's your little, oh, no, this is not a shield, is not it. You get a lock. Must be this one. Did I pick the same one twice? Which one did I pick? That one? There you go. Oh, God. So shield means they have permissions. Everyone can remember that. Yep. The lock now says they're a protected patron. If I come in and edit this patron and scroll down under library management, I now have an option for saying it's protected. Few things. No patron, once you go live, once you get upgraded, will be protected by default. You would have to come in here and turn those on yourself. So a nice little project to make people protected. Somebody asked in the last upgrade webinar, can we batch do this? Not at this time, but I think a great feature to add. Anyways, protected set to yes, they would not be able to be edited. Another thing that has happened with this, it is now part of unwanted fields. So for libraries that have no desire to even show this, you can hide this with the system preference unwanted borrower fields. My thought was for libraries that wanted to use this feature and went ahead and protected all their known borrowers that they want to protect, after they did that, they can then come in here and turn that field off to be hidden because you've already applied it to everybody, but it is there. So for libraries that don't want to see it, come in here and turn that off, and then it's hidden from your borrower detail page. But for libraries that do, you know that you can come in to your patrons, mark them protected, and then they won't be able to be edited. I did file a bug for a permission to be able to protect a patron, and that I think has been signed off. So a permission is being added as well there. I love all their all these names. Great job with your creativity and your names of your special patrons in your database. Okay, good. We're on system preferences. We'll stay there. This is bug 15505 and then 36605. track last patron activity. This is a current system preference. So we're not doing much except for before it was track last patron activity, yes or no. And now it's, hey, do you want to track your patrons? And what do you want to track that they're doing? So before you're upgraded, when you look at your system, track last patron activity is either yes or no. And if it is yes, then the choices that will come over when you upgrade will be checking out, connecting to Koha via SIP or ILSDI, or logging in. So those are going to be automatically checked because you had it set to yes, and that's what it also was known to be checking. If you want to add more or change those in what activity your patron is doing that you want to track, you can come in here and pick and choose. Something to note about tracking your patrons. It is going to update your last seen date for your borrower. So you'll be able to have that last date that they did that activity that you've chosen. So super helpful to know if they're active. If you don't want to track their last patron activity, that is completely fine. You don't have to, but I want to mention that another feature we're going to talk about next does depend on tracking patron activity. So we'll go into that. The one thing to note about tracking last patron activities, and this is not changing, but something that I didn't know for a while, was it only tracks it one time a day. So the first time I do something, it's going to say, oh, that's your last seen date. And then tomorrow it will, if I do something tomorrow, it will update it, but it's not going to do it every time I do one of these actions throughout the day. It's just going to do that one time and then move on. So it's just that one time, current day and time. Okay. So then the next two system preferences or two features that we want to talk about, and we did a Monday minutes on this, so I'm not going to dig too far into it. We had Liz, head of our systems team, come in on our Monday minutes and talk about this, but it's 28688 and 33522 automatically renew patron memberships, and then automatically or optionally skip inactive patrons when sending membership expiry notices. I mean, how great is it if you could have your patrons automatically renewed and they don't have to call or come in, or like it's the middle of the night and I'm like trying to find an audiobook and I'm expired. What? And then I have to wait till the next time I call the library or go in. If you want to be able to do this, Koha is looking at this last patron activity to say they're active. So that's how Koha is going to, if you want them to, renew patron membership is based on their activity and their like, hey, have they been active in the last X number of months? And you would determine that as a library. And then that's the date they would look on. So super awesome, super fantastic, but just know that these kind of work together. So something to think about when you're doing that. Okay, another one that we got a lot of excitement for was the ability to copy permissions from one user to another, and that is bug 30623. So fantastic. If I pull up a patron in my database that has permissions, I come over here, go to her permissions. I have now an option that says copy settings. If I hit that copy settings and then I pull up another person, come into this is my new staff member, set permissions, and then I just hit paste. And they've got everything that the other staff member had. Game changer, 100% game changer. Now, good to note, paste settings, it's still pasted in there. So I could do that several times if I wanted to several different staff members. I also can come in here and say, hey, forget those because I want to go to the next thing. So note, this is fantastic. Something that we wasn't known about or wasn't known about too much in our last upgrade webinar. You know what, I think it's smart for y'all to come to number 2 because we hear so many questions and we have great thoughts and we have great feedback that you get to hear it all. You get to hear like the feedback from the first one and like the questions that people asked. is there is for larger libraries, this is great, but I mean, I can imagine 50 staff members or 100 staff members and having to do that. There is a batch permission plugin that you can assign a set of permissions to a list of patrons, and that could apply. And then you would say, hey, I have a new circulation person. Okay, add them to that patron list, and those permissions will get attached. So just note that that is for a larger library, there is another option, but for a lot of libraries, this is amazing. I mean, somebody said in the last one, this is going to save years off their life. Just think of all the clicking you had to do, like through all the little checky boxes. So great. So great. Okay. I'm not going to even list all the bugs that is in the next one because we're just going to talk about Elasticsearch and a lot of the enhancements that are coming in the next upgrade, and something to note about Elasticsearch. So there are several Elasticsearch enhancements that come with these two releases, and a lot of these enhancements are adding more indexes to the searching. If a library wants to add any of these indexes, we do need to re-index your site. So if you are super excited about knowing that we're going to add the 020 subfield Z canceled ISBNs to the search index, send us a ticket and we'll add that to your mapping and re-index you. So the mappings need to be updated, and then we need to re-index you. So just let us know and we'll be able to do that and apply all the new enhancements to your system. If you're like, hey, the 752 doesn't really, not really great, or the 035A, that's fine too. Just something to note that there are more search indexes that have been added and may be helpful to some libraries. So the 020Z, the 752, the 035 subfield A, musical presentation, mark field 254, and then 520, 561, and 563. Those are all the bugs that are linked if you want to open those up. But those are all going to be indexed now. Another one that I'm sure a lot of libraries would like is that bug 27153, and that's adding the ability to strip punctuation out of searching to allow for those titles with punctuation to be found when you don't type in that punctuation. So that's another thing. If you're like, oh my gosh, heck yeah, I want that, that would be fantastic, because no one has time to use the ampersand when they want to do and when it's in a title. Creating that index, again, just send us a ticket, we'll re-index you and add that in there. And then the last one in Elasticsearch to note about is the ability to change the configuration of your facets. Okay, if I just wanted to double check. Oh, look at that. Look way over here on my far right, I have a little arrow that will bring me to the top of the page. That's new too. Woo-hoo! So exciting. Really a fantastic on a page like this. Fantastic. If you go to this, if you have Elasticsearch, if you go to the center tab, bibliographic records, and then scroll down to the bottom, you have facet order. So this is the facet order of your staff side and your OPAC. Only for Koha OPAC libraries this will apply to. You can change the way that those facets are ordered on the staff and the OPAC using these. So I could come up here and just move home branch up here, or title series, hit that save, and then when I make a search, those facets on the left will be changed to be in that order. That does not need a reindex. That will happen automatically. But if you do want to change your facets and you're using Elasticsearch, have fun. When you go live, have fun. I hope your little to-do list is getting nice and long with all the things you want to change. So exciting. Just a little story about me. I don't know if anyone's here with Vocal, but my library that I was with before I came to ByWater was Vocal. And so we, at the time, had 63 libraries. So I would go to these upgrade webinars that was done by Nicole years and years and years ago. And I didn't have any control of what we turned on or off. So it kind of felt bad that I was like, oh, this would have been nice, but consortium chooses. But it was fun to see. It's nice to be able to know. But those were my upgrade memories. Okay, enough about Kelly. we're moving on to tools and HTML customizations. In the last several releases, we've moved over system preferences. It's gonna take me a while to use that arrow. As you notice, I just used the whole scroll up the whole time instead of using the arrow. We've been moving system preferences over from system preferences over to HTML customization. So again, that's what we're doing here with a lot of the OPAC messages. So if I click into HTML customizations, and I'm just going to hit this new entry. We have a couple new ones that are coming over. We have results sidebar, suppression message, and one more, suppression redirect. Those have moved from a system preference over to HTML customization. Whatever you had in that system preference is going to move over to tools. So no need to know about it other than knowing that when you want to make a change to a lot of the text that's involved in Koha, such as these, it's going to live more in that tools HTML customization than it's going to live in system preferences. So like, hallelujah, less system preferences, but I think we've added about 15 more and we took away 2. So I don't know if we're evened out at this point, but it does give you some power to come in here, make those changes, and you have a nice little WYSIWYG. So you do have the ability to really customize, bold something, center something, add an emoji, add a picture, highlight something, add some links. So using this WYSIWYG will be a lot easier than putting that HTML text in the system preference. So making it a lot nicer and user-friendly for sure. Something to note, I did go in here and use this one, the OPAC results sidebar. I'm not finding that it's working with all, like if you did a library specific message. So I did file a bug for that, as well as the next one we talk about is also very specific to all libraries at this moment. So the next one, 6419, another 4-digit bug, add customizable areas to intranet home pages. So again, as I scroll down here, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new areas to customize. I can customize the bottom area of my acquisition home, my authorities home, my cataloging home, lists, patrons, point of sale, serials. I mean, that's really fantastic. I went in here and did the cataloging one, staff cataloging home, and I just put in a nice little cheat sheet, and I'll show you what that looks like here. Again, this is for all libraries. It does not seem to work for a library specific customization to their page, but if I pop over to cataloging, it now lives here, and I have a nice little link for my users, my staff members, to come in here and pop up this cataloging cheat sheet. So think about like documents or links or things to talk about in each of those areas or reminders. You can absolutely come in and make those changes and just add a little bit of text or fun at the bottom of those pages. Pausing so I can swallow. Okay, another one which doesn't have a lot of like things to look at because of course we're an admin, so it's not as fun as other areas. What is this? Six bugs that I've listed in here. Overview of template toolkit notices. So again, as I said earlier, what changes happen to notices such as these enhancements are not going to affect libraries that are currently live on Koha, because again, notices are already probably customized by your library, and we don't want to overwrite that information. But note that your notices currently that are produced, how they are with those hungry alligators, are still going to work. So this is just kind of moving Koha forward to remove those hungry alligators from your notices and add this template toolkit. Oh, what did somebody say about the percentage and the, oh, I can't
Tipsy
remember.
owls. That was
But
Barbara at Bedford. She called them tipsy owls.
Tipsy owls. So we'll call them
Yes.
tipsy owls. No more hungry alligators. Thanks, Heba. But it's something that you don't need to worry about if you're already have those notices. If you're like, hey, I kind of want to learn a bit more about this, I'll move some of mine over. They're all in, they're all can be added as these. There's a couple resources, I believe, on the agenda about template toolkit, and a lot of new resources have been added by folks in the community about using template toolkit. So maybe that will help if you want to slowly start to learn that. But of course, we're here. If you're a partner of ByWater, we're here to help you do anything. But note, your notices are going to be fine. We're just evolving those, so you can definitely don't be scared if you see those. Okay. So it just lists all those bugs are what they've updated. This is one of those accepted purchase suggestion, and you can see the template toolkit. Of course, you can still change that text, so super still easy. The other thing in the tools area, you have a format button, and this is bug 33478. Customize the format of notices when they're printed. And this is sponsored by Colorado Library Consortium. And this is a feature that you can customize the format of notices when they're printed. You can format like font size, margins, letterheads. You can do it for a specific notice or apply these settings to all notices. Note that this is not like as user-friendly as some of the other things like a WYSIWYG that we have in notices and tools. This is really CSS focused. So for librarians out there that are good at CSS, this may be something that they're going to totally embrace and use. If you have notices customized by ByWater, your CSS is built into the notice up here. It will not be at the bottom part. First of all, it's brand new, but second of all, we would do it notice specific. When I talked to Lucas about this, he says, well, he'll continue to use the CSS within the notice, but of course, this is something that libraries can use and may be helpful down the road. But again, very focused on librarians and libraries out there that are more CSS knowledgeable, which I can tell you right now, I am not at all. So I would definitely be like cheat sheeting something or like Googling something to help that. But of course you have us at ByWater to do any of your CSS needs. So do not fret. I think this is an opportunity to, as we move forward, to build on our notices, hopefully. And this is just one little small stepping stone. Okay, I'm getting down to the bottom, right? Not even close. 35826. This is nothing to show here. This is optimizing the building of the holds queue based on transport cost matrix. For libraries that are using the transport cost matrix and their holds queue, this is going to do a better job at targeting your holds based on the holds queue, in addition of using your transport cost matrix. So when you get upgraded, you're going to see a definitely better job at targeting those holds within the system. There is further development in the community that is, let me just copy this. This is that bug 20747, which is further enhancing this entire process. So note, with our larger libraries, we've been able to really like develop these hold processes that are really kind of targeting those libraries and their different workflows, because there are plenty of workflows that we're working with holds. So this is going to be super exciting. Bug 34478. This was a change in report due to CSRF updates that Koha did on a lot of its software. However, it did change report links. So is there anybody out there that has a report linked somewhere? Maybe it's bookmarked or it's linked on your staff side, maybe on the left or on the top, or you put it somewhere. Okay, we've already had somebody raise their hand. Those links for those reports will have to be redone because the link itself will not work. If you go into your report module and you hit run to any of those reports, it will run, no problem. It's just the bookmarked links are going to change a little bit. I'm going to show you right now here. If you're using any JSON output for your reports, that is not going to change. It is so funny. The end, I posted it in the webinar chat, but the end of the URL is going to change to ID equals, and the operation will be run, where before it was reports equals and the phase equals run. So it should be a relatively easy thing to do, but it's just kind of like, where are those reports linked right now to be able to find them wherever you're using them. Our little group of terrific Every Other Thursday webinar folks, they did a webinar, or they did a feature on this exact thing last week. So if you are tracking them or watching them, or you don't actually watch them ever, this might be the one to watch, just so they did discuss this. And oh dear, I'm sorry, Michael. Oh dear. So yes, those are just reports that are hyperlinked that are going to be affected. And then the last thing in the admin is 33703. Entering date should be more flexible, accepting different entry formats. Entering date should be more flexible. So most times, now we have like a date picker, and we can come in here and just pick the date. Let me go into my account. Come in here and use this date picker. Well, there are folks that maybe say, well, I just need to make this to like the 10th or 02 or something like that. There are areas, if we edit the dates up here, that are creating a little bit of havoc. So that is something that's getting fixed, but just note the date picker is there to use it. Use the date picker. Maybe don't come up and edit at this moment when you get upgraded. I'm sure it will be fixed by then. But notice that you might get a little bit of funky action when you directly edit a date. Oh, thanks for sharing yes, Katrina shared the Every Other Thursday video. Perfect. Okay, OPAC. We only have a few in the OPAC. It's kind of sad. But for all those that have seen, for now, it seems like ever, all the cookie consents that we have on our screens now, that we have to accept cookies. Koha has evolved in that as well. So they are enabling the ability to add those cookie consents to your staff side and your OPAC. So there's a couple bugs that are coming in here. And the first one is just to turn it on is cookie consent. And that would say, hey, turn on or turn off. So require, don't require. And then the other one in system preferences is just kind of like some JavaScript if you want to track those cookies, but not necessarily anything that you need to put in there at all. If you do hit that require, you can customize what is visible on the bottom page. So I popped over to the OPAC just so you could see. So this right here will be the cookie consent pop-up. No, sorry, this is the cookie consent bar, and I'll go over to the HTML so you can see that. And then when I hit more information, this is the cookie consent pop-up. So if you do want to provide some information on the cookies you're kind of, I don't know, hoarding, I don't know what you call it, accepting, or I don't know. So cookies is not my jam unless it's like chocolate chip or Oreo or something like that. But you do have some ability to check that. If I come over here, this lives in tools as well. So my HTML customizations, I'm going to search for my cookies, and there's your cookie consent bar, and there's your cookie consent pop-up. This is all I have here. The online cookie catalog, the online catalog uses functional cookies. These are essential to make this site work. You can decide what you want to put on these. And then this, I'm happy to share. This is the pop-up. This actually came from PTFS Europe. They did a little special on this, I think. So I just asked for their information because it looks pretty official. So again, you can add whatever information you want there. And again, if it's something you want to turn on for your staff side or your OPAC. And note, until they accept it, it kind of like just hovers down here at the until they accept it. Okay. Okay, one last thing here in the OPAC is we now have 36138 add cancellation reason to the status column on the OPAC hold history page. And this is really fantastic that you can actually see in your hold history your hold history, the actual reasons. If something was marked canceled and was given a reason, a drop down, authorized value, hold cancellation reason is the authorized value, it would show. So here I have this one's canceled and it's hit damage. So the power of yes, I placed on hold, it got canceled because it looks like that item has damage. So I can actually see that from the hold history page. This does not apply currently to Aspen libraries. So this is specific only to Koha libraries that are using the Koha OPAC. Hopefully that will be something that comes over to Aspen. I know it was talked about in the last webinar, something to look at getting done. Okay. We saved the best for last. Technical services. Whoop, whoop, whoop. All the catalogers waited really patiently. I can see it. They just were like holding their excitement in. The first one is 27595. Place holds on accepted purchase suggestions. You know how many libraries have like begged for this? This is sponsored by Bedford Public Library, Altadena Library District, and St. Paul's School. So this is fantastic. This is a system preference. So it is called place holds on orders from suggestions. Please place holds on orders from suggestions, do or don't. So you have to turn that on. And this is specifically for libraries that are taking purchase suggestions and putting them through the acquisition process. So once you've had that set to do, I'm going to come in here, go to my acquisition page. One of these days, they're going to put that in alphabetical order, and I'm really going to be up a creek. Okay. Come into my upgrade basket. I'm going to add to my basket. I'm going to add a suggestion. Let's see. Ooh, let's do this one. Before the coffee gets cold, I'm going to place that on order. Sorry, bear with me while I do all the things that I have to do. Okay. Done. Now, if I come into that account, come into my basket, I'm going to open this in a new tab. And there it is. Before the coffee gets cold, it's on order and it has been placed on hold. So automatically done for me. I don't even have to worry about it. It's just going to do, boom, it's going to do it for me. Now, another thing that's come with this newest upgrade is the ability to place a hold on things in your basket already. This is not automatic, but there is a quick link. So if I come over here, way over to the right under orders, I do have a new place hold option. So even if this was, you didn't do this process, but you wanted to be able to place holds on ordered things, you can come in here right from the acquisition basket and do that as well from here. So automatically, that's a system preference. Turn it on. It's going to make your life so much easier because it's going to put that hold on automatically for your patron. So thank you very much to Bedford, Altadena, and St. Paul's. The next one is show 10758, show bibliographic information on deleted records in the acquisition basket. Before this, we actually never saw the title. We now will see the title of a deleted item in a basket. So look at that. I mean, game changer. You now can see the bibliographic information in your basket once it's deleted. We have two more things that are going to be in acquisitions is the ability to cancel order lines in closed baskets. I didn't actually know this was a thing. 33664. You could not cancel an order if the basket was closed. You had to open the basket up, cancel it, and then reclose it. So for libraries that want to be able to cancel something when it's in a closed basket, there's another system preference. Cancel orders in closed baskets. Turn that on. Yes, you do. Turn it on. I'm going to use the back button. And then what do I have? I have the ability to, let me close the basket. I was like, I can do this. I can do this already. Grades. And now I can cancel that. You didn't have that choice before. I had no idea. I had no idea. But now you can go ahead and cancel something in a closed basket. Pretty fantastic. The last thing, and I feel really bad because I didn't show this correctly in the last webinar. You guys, I guess I got a little crazy. If you have a basket, this is bug 28449, link from basket summary to invoice for an order line. If you are in a closed basket, you now will have see invoice column. You will now have the invoice number of each line item. So if you've already received it and it's attached to an invoice, you have yet another column to be added, but you can link right to that invoice from your basket. So you will have a link of an invoice from your basket. And that's really good because sometimes we have baskets open for a while and we've received throughout. So you can see which ones you've received and which ones you have an invoice for, and then ones you don't. So something really helpful. Okay. 33418, allow setting overlay framework for connection imports. This is for libraries using OCLC connection. There are libraries using OCLC connection. Pay attention. You can now apply a specific framework when you're overlaying with OCLC connection. Before, you just chose one framework and then it came in that framework. So the default framework, or if you had a book specific framework, you have now the ability to choose a different framework for overlaying. Somebody asked in the last webinar, how do I know what framework I'm using currently? Send us a ticket because it is a back-end setting. It's a setup that our systems team does that will tell you, that's already set up back there to say what framework you're using. And then you can send us a ticket and say, hey, I want to overlay in this framework. So now know that that's there. It's just not visible from the staff interface. It is a back end setup involved. Okay, you guys are doing great. I know it. I can see the eye picks, toothpicks holding your eyes up, and they're doing fantastic. And I think Lizette's not feeling well, so she's doing great. She's holding in there, right? Okay, cataloging concerns came a few versions ago, which would allow staff members and or patrons, if you wanted them, to alert libraries about a concern they have about cataloging. Now, my library that I worked at was part of a consortium, and it was a centralized kind of cataloging process. But this was a way that I can see how I could find an error in a cataloging record and let somebody know on the technical services kind of crew. So cataloging concerns has been around for a bit, but now there's some new choices that you have if you have activated cataloging concerns. There's a few new authorized values that kind of work through process. So a new enhancement adds a ticket resolution authorized value. So if you want to assign the way that something was resolved and have choices, you can now do that as an authorized value. And you have ticket status. So let me just go to authorized values because that seems easier. So these are two new authorized values, and you can choose if you have multiple. What did I choose? Fixed and updated. I really didn't get creative in those. Status, in process. Now, how these come into play. They're not going to come in with default. You'll have to add defaults yourself. How these come into play. So if I come in here and go to my details, I now have, when I'm looking at the actual concern that comes over, I have the ability to resolve this with an option or update this with an option. So again, bringing in those authorized values. So you have the ability to kind of choose what you're doing, and then it's easy to be reported on, like how many did we have to fix, or how many bibliographic records were errors, or what have you. But now you have just some more validation in the cataloging concern process itself. And then finally, you have the ability to filter the concerns you have in here. All cataloging concerns are going to come through as a staff permission, so not everyone has access to those. And you have a couple of other system preferences, which I don't think are new. Cataloging concerns. Oh, let me just go into cataloging concerns. Oh, Kel's bells. That's going to bring me too many catalog. So you have allow staff and don't allow or allow OPAC. And then you also have catalog or email for sending out emails when you get those cataloging concerns. We have a great blog post that we can share that has this if this is the first time you're hearing about this. But this is kind of just updating that process of cataloging concerns within the system. And I don't know how many libraries are using it, but this is maybe helpful. Who knows? I hope so. Staying in cataloging, we have the ability to adjust the length, the width, and the height of barcode labels. What? This is fantastic. Within the layout of your labels, you can decide on how big those barcodes are. I think it always is kind of funny what Koha printed. So now you can tell Koha, I want this barcode to be this big. So fantastically helpful for libraries using the label creator in this way. So fantastic. Another system preference that's so exciting for those using the Z39.50 search for authorities, 28166 optionally add MARC fields to the authority search. So now additional fields, we had additional fields here in result search. That was when you were searching bibliographic records. We've now added a new system preference, additional fields in Z39.50 result auth search. So if you wanted to add an additional MARC field in your authority search using Z39.50, you can absolutely do that here. So that's, I know catalogers are loving that right now. Next, serials. 26567, allow to limit subscription search to subscriptions with routing lists for libraries using serials and routing lists. This is the one for you. I love this new page that we come to with serials, which I don't know when it started, but I love it so much. But now we have an option right here, has routing lists, and you can make a search and say, hey, look at everything that has a routing list. Nice little change. Another serial one, 32392, ability to skip forward serial issues when receiving issues. If we come in here and we want to receive the University of California, Berkeley wellness letter, and I received this one, oh God, this is late from last year, and I say the skip the issue. I can say skip how many, 1, 2, 3, and hit save. And now Koha will say, oh, did you want to skip that? Y'all, it didn't skip. Let me try again. It didn't skip for me this morning either, but it skipped for me another day. Let's do this. Let's do 3. I filed a bug. Nope. Well, I filed a bug about this. I don't know what happened because we have not changed our process at all since when's last Thursday or whenever I did this. But it's not working. It will come. It will come. The last one, 2 more. We have 2 more. Do I have 2 more? Yes. The next one is 35646. Allow using publication date parts for serial numbering. I found this fantastic. When you come in here, you can have a numbering pattern. You know, it's always been super standard how Koha displays the publication date. Now you can alter that to be able to see the full day, the full month, 100% amazing. I think I did it to Yeah, New York Times book review. So now you can see here, I put a lot in there. November 6th, Monday, 2023. So you can add month, the day of the week. I mean, this is fantastic to be able to do that. They had the year, the month, the day, the month name, and the day name are all now choices that you can add when you're doing your numbering pattern. So if I come in here and to look at my new one, you have these as your numbering formula. So as Heba says, we do get a lot of tickets about this. So you're able to really change the look of what you want to show in that field. And that's going to be fantastic. Fantastic. And then the last one about serials is OPAC serial default tab. I love finding out about system preferences when I read release notes. This is not a new system preference, OPAC serial default tab. This is to say, if I search in the serials, search for a cereal in the OPAC, like Bon Appetit or Real Simple, where does it bring me when the search occurs? When I click on that title, does it bring me to the holdings tab, the subscription tab, and now a third choice would be title note tab. That's the new thing, title note tab. Let me go back to my cereals. One more. Martha Stewart. So here, title notes, if I search Martha Stewart Living, click that title, it's going to default to this tab. The holdings tab, it would default to this tab. The subscription tab would default to this tab. I can see the subscription tab being super helpful. Like if you weren't barcoding anything and you just wanted them to see the kind of overview of your subscription, this is a good one. But title notes seem really helpful too for those libraries. So note that you do have that as a choice. I said at the bottom, fun things you'll see during this webinar. Let's show. Last patron has now expanded to more than one patron. If you use your last patron button, you now will be able to see a multitude of patrons that you had gone to throughout your process. So in your browser, you'll be able to have a nice list of patrons that you accessed. I love that. I didn't head over to cataloging. When you're either in the advanced editor or the basic editor, you're now going to have a little toggle here that will bring you back and forth. So of course you have to have the advanced editor permission as a staff member, but if you do, you can toggle back and forth. You don't have to use that drop down and choose basic editor or advanced editor. You now have the toggle at the top of the page. And then one last thing. Oh, I'm doing good with time today. We've now split the check-in and renew buttons. Before it was check-in/renew, and Koha would identify like you're picking this one or you're picking this one, and it would know. But now if you hit the renew, you can go ahead and renew, or if you hit check-in, you can hit check-in. So I think that's really helpful, is having them separate. And that was sponsored by Cape Libraries Automated Material Sharing, Massachusetts Library. Perfect. Okay. I do want to share with you some resources. If you don't know where anything lives on our blog post, I do want to show you where all those things are. And I also want to, I really hope that you've had lots of good questions, and Heba's been able to, all my team has been able to help you. And I have like, hold on. So what's this? Okay. So we have, since we're doing 2 upgrades, we have 2 release notes pages. I'm super sorry. If we did one big one, it would be a never ending blog post. So we do have 2 separate release notes pages, and they're going to break down into different sections. So you can click, go to that area. And like I said, oh, this is where we need a top arrow, huh? Like I said, if you go down, you will find system preferences at the bottom of each of these pages. So you have new system preferences, deleted system preferences, authorized values, letter codes. And then of course you have the same for 2405, same thing. Hey, there's your categories, so you can kind of look. We have posted the last week's recording and then also the questions. So in this website, and we can share all these, I'll put them in chat. We have the recordings and then we have the questions. So if you wanted to look through the questions of what other people asked or the resources we shared the last webinar, feel free to come here. We'll add to those after today's webinar because we love questions and we want to make sure everybody gets that information. And then finally, we do have something that we're just kind of like slowly rolling out is a new help center for our Koha users. And so we started with the upgrade information. So this website, I don't know if it's in the agenda, will bring you to kind of the same information that you're seeing on our blog posts. Under the About page, we have Koha upgrades. It's going to also break it out to 2311. It's breaking it out into different modules, but note within each of the features and enhancements where there's further information, you will see a link. It will bring you to the help center and break it down there. So whether there's a tutorial video or just more information, when we're taking that kind of documentation and merging it with our existing information. So we're not creating new content. We're just kind of updating our old content to make it all relative. So instead of having 2405 specific blog posts, we're just going to integrate all that. So feel free to come here. This is where a lot of the documentation lives for these features, as well as the Monday Minutes. And a lot of our old blog posts are moving over. We feel really good. We're just not really advertising it yet, but have fun, play around with it, see what you can find. It's just another place to get that information. So I'll put a few of more of these. You have searching ability in the help center. So you could come in here and just search for something. You can use these drop downs and find more information. So hopefully this is really helpful. Let's see what else. Any thoughts, concerns? 2311, I'm almost done. I have one more. This recording will be emailed out. It will be posted on our YouTube channel. I appreciate everyone. Let me stop sharing. I appreciate everyone from coming. Brian, Heba, Lizette, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate everyone who showed up. Pass it on to your friends. They can YouTube me later and just like take some popcorn, watch all the Koha fun, and we'll be in touch with your upgrade date. Please reach out if you have any questions.
There's a hand raise. I don't know if we got to that yet.
Oh, did somebody raise their hand? Somebody have a question?
Victoria?
Victoria.
Maybe not.
Oh.
2 people now.
Now one more person's raising their hand. Maybe they're raising the roof like this. Whoop, whoop. Victoria, do you have a question? I don't see who else.
Pam?
Pam, do you click that? How do you view that? Oh, view. Duh. Okay. Well, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. Send it to Kelly at ByWater Solutions or put a ticket in. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. You guys are the best. Have a great day. Bye. Oh my God, 4:33. Pretty